Hi everyone, I'll be showing how to configure groups using privilege identity management. On my test tenant, the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. So the first thing is to click on PIM and select groups. Selecting groups, I can discover groups, check for groups in my tenants, filter by groups that are unmanaged, not yet using PIM. And if I decide to onboard those groups using PIM, all I have to do is to click this and click manage group, and the group is moved to PIM. Once a group is onboarded to PIM, you can't take that group out of PIM. The next thing I will check for is my managed group. I have just refresh this. So I have project app revamp and digital group. With PIM, you can manage M365 groups and security groups. So focus now will be on configuring this. I'm back on groups, privilege identity management, select project app revamp. The next is to work on the settings, to configure the settings for the owner. So the role settings for owner and that of members are independent, so you have to do that separate. The first one is the owner. I'll work on the role setting of the owner. So I'll click edit here, select the maximum duration for activation. I'll just leave it at 11.5. I'll keep it simple. If I require the owner to eligible owner to activate, I'll just leave it as none. And the next is require justification. And if I require approval for that user before the user can be activated, I select an approver. So I'll just search for my approver here. So I have this. Select Cynthia to be the approver. And the next is assignment. The assignment is where you assign active assignment or eligible assignment. So this is going to be an eligible assigned group for 3 months, and I'll keep it there. And the next is notification. But before then, I would like to move back to the activation where I selected approval. For best practice, it's good to have at least 2 approvers rather than having 1, because at the point of request from the eligible user, if the approver does not respond within 24 hours, the user has to resend the request. Then the next is to configure the notification. So this is the notification. I'll do the default settings and update. Now that I've done the role settings for the owner, likewise, I've also done the role settings for members. It's still the same process, but they are independent, so you have to do it separately. The next is the assignment, to assign members. What kind of members do I want to assign? I have to select here, select the role. My focus is on the owner. I'll select the owner and select member who would be an eligible owner. So I'm selecting Miriam. And once that is done, I'll click select. And the next is to select the settings for the member, for Miriam, for the owner. So click next. Since it's going to be for a duration of 3 months, if it's for a project, I can include the start date and the end date of that project. So I would leave it this way. The next is to assign. Since I've assigned, I just click on assign to update yours. Once I refresh this, I should be able to see Miriam as an eligible owner of the group. So Miriam is an eligible owner of the group. As the project role administrator, I can remove Miriam if I don't want Miriam to be an eligible owner anymore, or update the activation. I'm going to log in as Miriam and activate the role. Let's see how that works. I've logged in as Miriam here. I just have to refresh this, click on groups. So I can see Miriam listing for, she wants to activate to become active owner for a short period, and I'm going to click activate. So it requires justification, and she can reduce the duration of hours, assuming she needs just 7 hours. I should say for config, I'll just put that. And the next is to activate the role. Because in the settings it requires approval, Cynthia has to approve that role before Miriam will be activated. So I'm going to log in as Cynthia. Here in my tenants, I'll click on app pending request. Refresh. I can see that Miriam is requesting to become an owner for a period. So this is it. I'll click on this, Miriam for app config. All I have to do is the start date and the end date. I'll just select Miriam and I can approve or deny. So I'll click approve. Justification for approval, I'll say app config, so I will just put that as well and click confirm. So now Miriam's role has been updated. So I'm going back now to Miriam, end user. I'm going to refresh now and check active assignments. And you can see that Miriam is now an owner for the group. So I hope you've seen how to assign and to configure PIM for groups. Let's see if she can deactivate. You can't deactivate within a short period as well. It won't work. The active duration is too short. Minimum required duration is 5 minutes. I hope you've been able to see how to configure groups using privileged identity management. Groups can be managed on the team, can be role assignable or non-role assignable. You create that on the group interface if you want the group to be role assignable or non-role assignable. And also for PIM for groups can only be assigned groups, can be dynamic groups. So I hope you've been able to see how to configure